right, happy Thursday. And it's so excited. Spring has sprung. We're looking here and can't wait to start being outside more. And hopefully, I'll be able to show you things like zooming from a hammock coming up soon. But meanwhile, so many people have said, right? Oh, I can't network on virtual. Well, I don't know what you people are talking about because I get to do some of the best networking in the last 3 years. Most of these people too, I've never like actually met face to face in the real world, but I've gotten to collaborate with them. I've got to meet them. I got to know them. And so I'm excited for our next guest. He hails from Baltimore, Maryland, a self-proclaimed, thriving modern-day mompreneur who runs a virtual networking events. We met again on Speakers Playhouse. I love that I put the offer out for people who want to be interviewed. And Speakers Playhouse, by the way, is also a great networking place when you do that. Let's introduce to you the one and only Blaney Teal. Hi, Blaney.
Hi.
Okay, so I got to ask, what are you dreaming about and how do you relax?
Well, that's so funny that you asked that because I actually just bought a resort in Mexico, believe it or not. So I'm dreaming about moving there in 3 months. We bought a resort and we're going to be hosting retreats there for business owners, but also I'll be relaxing there as well. So that's what I'm dreaming about.
Well, if you need a pool boy, I am your person, right?
There's no pool, but there's the Caribbean Sea.
That's the world's biggest pool, right?
Right?
Oh my gosh. All right, Blaney. Well, you're one of my favorite entrepreneurs here too, right? Because you are a classic underachiever. So why don't you do us a favor, all right, for my friends who don't know you, say a little bit more about who you are and what you do in the world, Blaney.
Absolutely. So you did nail it. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm excited because I am the founder of a networking organization called Making Business Connections. And, I like to talk about that a little bit because it was actually an in-person networking event founded in 2017. And like you said, when the pandemic hit, we all had to go virtual. And so a lot of folks thought it couldn't be done. They really didn't think that they could get anything out of it. They literally canceled my networking, membership because they're like, we'll wait till it comes back to in person. And so through my wonderful tech skills, because I'm also the Frugal Techie Business Coach, I love helping entrepreneurs implement tech tools and systems in their business. I was able to take the networking organization virtual. And so it kind of so fit with your offer to come speak about virtual events because that's what I do. I've put over, hundreds of them in the last 2 years on, some big ones, some small ones, and it's amazing that people say that still like, oh, I'll wait till you go back to in-person stuff. I don't want to do virtual. Nope, that's not really the world today.
Well, I gotta get our good friend Olivia from the Bay Area said, I love your background, dream, relax, turquoise, and rustic all together. She really loves all of that. So, Blaney, did you do something before you started preneuring it, or did you? I'm just wondering if you had a day job before you took the jump into entrepreneurship.
Well, I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 7. I honestly started my first business then. I had a bunch of businesses throughout my teens, and I did actually get a real job. I was a realtor. I did new home sales for 7 years, and then I was a settlement officer for 7 years. And then I became an entrepreneur again and started a kids consignment sale for 11 years that I sold in 2018. But all along, even when I worked for somebody else, I still always had side gigs. I just always had something else going on in the background. I was born an entrepreneur, I swear, from the day I was born. And I love the opportunities that being an entrepreneur has that you can't get from corporate America.
And what was that job at 7? I gotta know.
So I used to hand make painted barrettes, if like for little girls.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I would go walk on the beach in Rehoboth, Delaware, back when it was safe to do that. I wouldn't probably not let my 14-year-old do it today, but I would go towel to towel, blanket to blanket with a little board of barrettes that I made the night before. And I would go up to the moms and I'd be like, hey, I see you have a little girl. Do you like some barrettes I made? They're $1 a piece. And I would sell out every day. I would go home and make more. And I would go back and that was my summer gig. Every time my parents went on vacation, I brought out my barrettes.
Can I ask what you do? What'd you do with those funds? Right at the end of the summer, like, did you work towards a goal or did you save? I'm just curious what you did with it.
I reinvested them in more
Oh,
businesses.
see, yeah, oh, you are right. So we were just talking about Elon Musk when he wasn't crazy about Twitter, but how he almost went broke running SpaceX, right? Because if the fourth rocket would have blown up, he would have been broke, right?
Wow.
And so, yeah, so free rolling into that. Let's see, the jobs I had too, newspaper delivery. I was also lifeguard, and I delivered pizzas in college, by the way. So. While I wasn't in business for myself, but I'm just talking about some of those early jobs. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about your networking. One, why did you create the network? And two, what makes your networking what you feel like different maybe than other virtual networking groups?
Absolutely. So I get asked a lot why I created it. And I created it because I was a part of other networking groups. Back, like I said, most of those were all in person. And I just didn't like the vibe. I didn't like the people that were showing up. Sometimes I would get accused of being a date. They would be accused of being a dating site. My husband would be like, "Oh, did you go on a date?" I'm like, "No, I went to a networking event." But it just felt sleazy, right? Or we would go to events where they were very social and no business got done. It was just about the drinking, or we would go to events that were exclusive and you only could have one of everybody. And I sat in the same room for 14 years with almost the same 15 people. And, eventually that got old and boring. And I didn't like that. So I decided that I wanted to create something with a little different vibe. We are known for the fun method of networking. I wanted something that was not exclusive so that everybody was invited. And what I always say at my networking events and why you said I'm different is because you'll never sit in the same room with the same people, either virtually or in person. I don't care if you're on my virtuals or you're on my luncheons in person, the room is never the same people. So you're always making new connections, right? Why we call it making business connections, right? So it just makes total sense. And so the fun method of networking actually came because I was looking for virtual events that were fun. Everybody does Zooms. And Zooms back in 2020, like people ask me, "Oh, Zoom, we're doing Zoom. Isn't that an electric company?" I'm like, "No, that's a virtual software company." Right. And so it took them a while to understand because their mindset had to shift from in-person to virtual. But as soon as everybody jumped on the bandwagon, I pivoted immediately because I was already using Zoom before the pandemic.
Yeah.
I decided that I wanted to create a more fun experience virtually so that they didn't get on and be like, "Oh, another Zoom, another breakout session with the same 4 people. Oh, wait, I was in the same room with you last session. How did I get these same 2 people?" Zoom is not smart. I get so frustrated. I just was on something. I think it was Speakers Playhouse. And I was with 4 people. The next round, I was with 3 of the same people. I'm like, "Come on, Zoom, you got to be smarter than that when you randomize things. Come on." Like, it's got to be an algorithm that can fix that problem, right? But anyway, so why is MBX different? MBX is different because each one of our events is held on a different platform.
Well,
Now, why?
wow.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
okay,
Right? You're like,
talk.
why would you do that?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's fun to get into something that doesn't feel the same. There's a newness when you jump on something and it's on platform A or B or C or D. Yes, there's a little learning curve, but it's so small these days. But the idea is each one has its own vibe and its own experience, right? And that's what I love. And people have said to me, "Well, I love your events because each one has a distinct experience or flavor to it."
Okay, can you give a shout out to some of the platforms you have met on? I would love to know. I know there's a lot of
Absolutely.
them, but I'm curious about which ones you have been on.
Absolutely. So for bigger events, I use Remo and AirMeet. Those are my 2 favorites for big conferences and summits and Power Connector brunches and
Yep.
group stuff. I love those. I have a big summit actually coming up on AirMeet, and it's the bomb with gamification and engagement, and people just love that. As
Okay.
far as like my coffee clicks, those are my smaller peer-to-peer masterminds. We do those on a platform called Butter because it's totally fun. My luncheons are on Butter because they're totally fun. And I'll be honest with you, the reason I like Butter is because you know how we were talking about how Zoom chats are ugly and a hot mess when you download them. In Butter, it goes into an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh,
And you
interesting.
don't have to save the chat. It's automatically saved in your account. You get a free account. And so that's one of my favorite ones. Blitzer is another one for our speed networking. I don't know if you've heard of Blitzer, but Blitzer is the bomb when it comes to one-to-ones. And again, I've been touted as having one of the best Blitzers on the Blitzer platform. because I don't just rely on Blitzer people to come and mingle with us. I market my entire network from Meetup, from Eventbrite, from Facebook. So when you come to my Blitzers, again, you don't sit in the same room with the same people. I heard on the other Blitzers, it's like the same 4 people every month. I'm like, well, that's because they're just networking, right? I bring people from outside and they love it. So they're like, wow, you're the best Blitzer on there. And I'm like, it's because I own a networking group and that's what we do.
I want to give you a t-shirt one day that says, I'm not the same 4 people.
Right? Exactly.
Something
right?
like that. I promise. If I am, I'll change personalities. I don't know.
Right. But think about it, right? Your time is limited. And if you have to be in the same room with the same people, yes, there's a small percentage of goodness in that because, okay, we all want to get to know each other better, but I want to be able to, like you said, meet different influencers, meet different collaborators, joint venture people. And you got to just keep meeting people. You can't stop.
Okay, so let's see if I can give you a couple back. There was Gatherly, right? Or Gathertown.
Yeah.
Shoot, what is the one that
I've been on that one. One of my clients uses Gathertown.
My friend is on a platform. Shoot, I can't remember the name of the platform now, but it has like small cartoon people that walk around and then you get videos.
There's a couple of those out there.
You can build a world.
Virbella is one of the
Oh, yeah, I know Virbella. Okay, I know. Virbella is more like 3-dimensional avatar running around a thingamajig. Okay, but this one too. Have you used Twine for Zoom?
No, because I don't use Zoom at all, ever. I canceled my Zoom account because I've got another one called Be Virtual that I use because it's free for 100 people for 90 minutes for free. And I do actually have an affiliate link for that. I didn't even give you all my affiliate stuff, but one of my big things, obviously, anything I promote, I always love to, share my affiliate link with, as you know. So I'm an affiliate for Butter, I'm an affiliate for Blitzer, and I'm an affiliate for Be Virtual. But I don't use Zoom anymore, except when I come on to things like yours.
And you can come in as a free account. Well, take a look at it, and here's the reason why. Twine for Zoom, at least currently for 25 people, what it does is solve the invariable speed dating problem, which is it will take all of your people inside of a program and pair them up and then run it, and like you can say how long. Let's say it's 5 minutes, and then it will end, and if someone is still on, immediately pair you with somebody else who is actually on, right? And so there's some things that you can do with that. You can, of course, change tables and a few others, but I'm glad
to hear that because they need more of that. They really do. That, ending up in the same rooms. Like I said, there's no reason why they can't take 100 people event and randomize them with an algorithm so you're not in the same room. Like, it sounds like Twine's doing that.
And Twine can also then multi-tag. So you could say, I only want to meet with entrepreneurs and business owners. And so people can tag themselves, and then it'll make matches. We're saying only these people should match with these people, right?
Awesome. Yeah, excellent. I'm glad to hear it. I really am, because it's frustrating. You want to meet good people.
Yeah, you want to meet good people, and the tools are possible, but they may or may not exist, and sometimes they exist and they're not that good, right? You want the promise and the reality are not the same.
Exactly.
This is great. You gave me a bunch of platforms too that I've never tried, so I'll be curious one day to hopefully hop on with you on one of these and see what it's like. So Absolutely. Now that you've done all this networking, let's talk about wins and fails, right? Well, tell me some of the things, and you may have already been there, but you might have failed like a long time ago, like I did too. Which is, what are some of the things in networking that didn't work? And of course, then what were like some magical things that occurred in some of your networking events? I'm just curious, what are your favorite things to do?
Well, I was going to say some of the challenges, I'll call them, with virtual networking is with the new tech is sometimes folks have trouble getting into them. And that is a challenge that I constantly try to improve, because it could be they're using the wrong browser, or a lot of times people have Zoom open, and even though they may not be in the meeting, it's hijacking their mic or their camera. And then they're not able to get into my event because they don't have a virtual cam like I do, where I can go anywhere and I can be in 3 places at the same time. Yeah. So that is a challenge. I won't say it's a failure, but it's definitely a challenge that I deal with a reality every day, to the point that when I get a lot of registrations, we get some no-shows on virtuals, right? So I now send out an email afterwards saying, hey, you missed the event. Can you let us know if you had a tech issue? We'd like to know and help you through it, so next time you can get on easier. The other thing I see going on with virtual events that's kind of frustrating, I won't call it a failure, is people think it's okay to show up late. And it's very frustrating when you start a meeting and people are coming in late, interrupting where you are. Or I even saw it today on Speaker Playhouse. So people were late and they ended up raising their hand for the wrong thing because they didn't realize they had already did that. And so, it's kind of embarrassing when you're talking about something that they covered 10 minutes ago, but they didn't know, right? So, just as a etiquette, don't be late and always be early, because you could have tech problems. You could have a challenge and we can't fix it once we're in, like once I'm live, I can't be troubleshooting stuff with people. You're
No.
out, you're out at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah. Yes, I totally agree. Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Because already the culture is a little different than an in-person event. So like dropping in some ways is encouraged, right? But I think you have to set a standard for your own program where like in the pre-emails, right? This is a best practice, which is to tell people ahead of the meeting what to expect. Like if they're going to be breakout rooms, tell them so they're not surprised. If if you're going to say for this program, right, you can be up to 5 minutes late, but not more than that, because that's for the people who are here. This is a completely interactive show. You really want to get in, and you actually want to stay to the end if you want to get the most value. And so I do know there's a culture of jumping in and jumping out, but I think you could solve that by changing the expectations around the meeting. I don't know. That'd be my
No,
best.
I totally agree with you. Even our in-person events, right? I've had to be even issues with that where people are coming in late and we start. So I now send out texts and emails saying doors open at 11. We actually start the meeting at 11:30 and you're considered late, because rolling in at 11:45 is not cool, because you've missed any content and you've missed the introductions. And we at our in-person events, we actually provide the lunch for our people. So they come for the lunch, which is awesome, but
Yeah.
it's not cool to show up 50 minutes late just to get free lunch. Like that's not cool. So like you said, we had to actually stop that behavior because it's not good. And so I start right on like I have a clock, just like you said. I let everybody in at the time. I have about a 3 to 5 minute clock, depending on what I see going on. And then I start. Yeah. And I literally have a countdown timer. Like, so people are coming in, they know we're going to start in 3 minutes. They can go grab a soda, water. They can use the restroom, whatever. Cause I don't, but then I start. And when they're late, they're late. And, sometimes I'll leave the waiting room on and I won't let them in after a certain point because they've missed it. And just jumping in late, it's just not fair. It's not fair to those that show up on time. It's disrespectful, in my opinion.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. So that's one of those chat to the waiting rooms, right? Thank you so much, right? You are now officially late. We welcome you the next time. Our next program is XYZ, All right, the doors are closed. Yeah, that would be a good one. Doors open X time, doors close Y time. And that's also, I have not seen that in most virtual meetings. So that would be a unique practice.
Yeah.
So Blaney, so tell us about some of your best networking and networking activities. So what I'd love to hear is maybe a story about someone you met who really helped you, or someone a business. And then what are some of the other techniques you use in your virtual meetings to really try and get people to start meeting, talking, right? Knowing each other deeper.
Wow, that's a lot of question there. Well, I mean, networking number one, like my biggest tip is, you can't just show up one and done, right? You can't just show up for one, bounce around over here for one. You need to pick a group or two and stick with it, because people need to get to know, like, and trust you. So I've had some major wins. So I had a friend of mine who knew Forbes Riley. If you don't know who she is, she's the pitch queen for HSN. And they introduced me to her, but they met her on a virtual. But again, it's not always about me meeting someone. It's somebody introducing you through their network. And so Forbes is usually a keynote now on our SBVE, our Small Business Virtual Extravaganza. Then just a couple of weeks ago, I was actually on another networking event, and somebody referred me to a gentleman in Australia. And we are now creating a product for business owners, which I can't announce yet, but everybody in networking is going to want to learn about it. It is super incredible. So we're doing a joint venture. We are partners in a brand new company that is going to serve business owners in networking. So this is really like perfect for what I'm doing.
Got all your
And yeah, it's like perfect. And so like here's the thing is, you can't be in it for the quick win. I see so many people show up and let's relate it to even an in-person event, right? They show up with business cards, take my card, or let me have yours, let me have yours, let me have yours. And then they spam you to death, right? Same thing I see happen in virtuals. People show up, they're grabbing all the chats, they're grabbing all the links, and they're going to start spamming people with their newsletter or their text. And that's, again, etiquette. That's not cool in any kind of networking situation. My best practices is when you're on a group, take good notes, number one. Pick maybe 1 to 3 people out of every event. And that's why I'm saying you need to go back to the events multiple times, especially mine, because the same people aren't always there. But most events, even I've been on the Speakers Playhouse now 2 weeks in a row, and there's been different people every time, some same, some different. And that's really nice. I just look for 1 to 3 people that I want to do a one-on-one with. And I either grab their calendar or I send them mine. And I just say, oh my gosh, we need to chat. Here's my calendar, grab some time. And if I'm really have time, I'll grab theirs and I'll do it while we're in the networking, guys. It's not rude. It's not rude to do it while you're in the networking, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to download the Zoom chat. You're going to never open it because it's ugly and it will drive you crazy. And so you're never going to do it. So that's my 2 cents. But that's how I feel when I open up. I go on overwhelm when I open up the chat. It is just ugly. So find 1 or 2 people, private message them. Hey, I'd love to chat with you. Can I get your calendar? Here's my calendar, and book it right then. And that's why I say 1 to 3, because you don't want to be doing 20 of them. Like, you don't want to be disrespectful to the entire group.
Yeah.
And not everybody is your perfect collaborator or your referral partner. Really listen. That's why I'm saying take notes, write their name down. Here's the best part. Let's say you don't get to connect with them. You wrote their name down, a little bit about them, go to LinkedIn and find them, and then connect with them on LinkedIn. That's just as good. And then start that relationship with them. But I get so frustrated. I actually had somebody at my event who literally I sent out a spreadsheet at the end of most of my events to people that attended. So just in case you didn't save the chat, and some of my events, you can't save the chat, whatever, then they are able to reach out to people and say, oh, I saw you on there. I see you're with XYZ. But I see people who actually take that list and then upload it into their CRM and start mailing them a newsletter or their funnel. And I'm like, no, you guys, that's abuse. Like, please take the list and look at people that make sense for you to do a one-on-one with. That's the magic in networking. It really is. The magic is one-to-one.
Right? Yeah, it's the authentic connection. Yeah, some of those are some of my best practices too, which is why I like having multiple screens. I can click a link, right? You can look at that person, find out if you have something in common, right? And then one of my favorite things to do is to connect if I haven't connected with them, and then let them know where I met them. So, because a lot of times you get requests, and I've ignored most of my LinkedIn requests now because a lot of them are now getting to the spam level. People who want to connect with you, who don't know you, and then start spending you stuff that you don't want. But I say specifically, right, met you on Speakers Playhouse. That doesn't have to be much more than that. But that little piece where at least go to someone like Blaney and go, oh, okay, great. Maybe I remember him, or or we reached out or whatever it was. Like, at least I know there was context for that. Like, I'm just not blind coldly, going out and connecting with every connection out there. And then after that, right, is to talk a little bit more simple things too, Blaney. People are already saying either I like your background, or my other friend Olivia said, thanks to you, I'm learning there's a world outside of Zoom, right? What? Right? There is. So things like that. If you put that in the chat or start the conversation there, then you most likely you're going to get some kind of reply. And then later at some part, either they say it too. What's great, Blaney, is when you get it right is when they say, we should meet up. Right? As opposed to you having to do it.
Absolutely. And I get a lot of requests too. And I'm, like you said, though, a lot of it is spam, but you can tell, like today I got a bunch of them that said exactly that. It was like, saw you on Speakers Playhouse. That's all they wrote. And I'm like, awesome. Like, I'll connect with you because I know we got something exciting going on. The other ones, I have to go look a little harder to see if it's a spam bot trying to reach out or somebody trying to sell me, 20 more leads a day or whatever those spam bots are doing these days. But anyway, I just think there's ways that you can make connections, and you just have, like you said, authentically, and it takes time. It really takes time. I actually created a ultimate networking tracker. And that is actually in my digital business card that I know you guys are going to give everybody later. Also, all of the software that I talked about, because I am the Frugal Techie Business Coach. So all the software that I talked about is available inside my resource guide that's in my business card too. So if you heard me talk about some of those things and you like them, but it's just amazing because I had to create something because I was doing so many one-on-ones and I was doing so much networking that I was losing track of people. They were falling through the cracks. I was forgetting who to follow up with, who's really important to my summit, who could be a good MBX member, who could be a good coaching member. So I actually created it's called the Ultimate Networking Tracker, and it's actually available in my business card as well. It's $17, but it will actually help keep it's not a CRM. It's literally created so that when you're on these calls, like you said, I have multiple screens. So I have my tracker up and I actually add notes and comments to the people that I feel are a good fit, either to be a one-on-one or a collaboration or a referral partner. Not everybody's going to go on that list.
Right.
Just the people that I don't want to forget about.
Right.
Easy. So easy.
That's great. Okay, here I got the here's the question I have for you. Who taught you how to network?
Who taught me how to network? My dad. I would have to say my dad. My dad is a natural born networker. He was a realtor, for 50 years. And so when I was in high school, I was always going with him to the Interact Club and the Rotary Club and just watching him network in a way that wasn't salesy or spammy, right? In a very authentic way, giving service as part of the Rotary Club, being with business people. And I became part of the Interact Club, which we worked with the Rotary Club and did service-oriented projects. And really, that's what really helped me understand, that to be a business professional, like networking is key. And you can do it in every day. Like you don't have to just do it virtually. You can do it when you're out and about at a meeting of any kind.
Yeah, virtually anything too, right? Well, my mom was known of having the gift of gab and being able to talk to anyone. She was a nurse though, right? But that nurse is what, allowed her to be a great nurse because she actually worked at the county hospital too. Some of those people wear orange, right? Which means that it could actually be someone from jail who's a murderer, but she would treat them like gold, right? Because her job is to take care of them in that moment, right? Nothing else. And so she discovered that ability to talk to virtually anybody. You know who those people are too. You go out with them and like they will start talking to the table next to you,
yes,
right? Naturally, right? Without any effort. And those are those kind of people. All right. So let me ask you this question now too. Of course, you've been doing virtual for quite a while. What has to happen for Blaney? What has to happen for Blaney for a virtual meeting to be engaging for you?
Well, that's a great question. So for it to be engaging for me, number one, the host has to be full of energy. So one of the reasons I'm attracted to networking events that are fun, needless to say why we have the fun method of networking, which FUN's an acronym, by the way. But when I'm going to other people's events, I will be excited and engaged if the host is engaging. Like I've been on some where the host is boring and it's like, I can't stand it. Like I think the Speakers Playhouse is one of the ones, again, that is just so much fun. And I relate to that because the energy is there. And when you come to my networking events, they're not boring. They're fun. My energy is high and I attract more high vibe people, right? The other thing is it can't be, when I go to another person's networking event, it needs to be interactive. So if they're up there running PowerPoint presentations and it's PowerPoint presentation and they're going through slides, I get bored very fast with PowerPoint presentations. I don't mind popping a slide up and talking about it, but to sit there and go through slides and have to listen to them pitch, like I barely pitch the membership to MBX at my events. That's the last thing. And it's really not even, sometimes I forget because it's not, I figure you're going to reach out to me if you want to join, you're going to find my website, you're going to do it. But I've seen other folks and literally they spend 10 minutes like pitching their networking or their whatever, 7 businesses. And yeah, PowerPoint presentations just kill the vibe for me. Like I want interaction. I also don't mind training though. Like I love when I can go and get 10 good minutes of something exciting. Like some kind of, not an hour presentation, but I love when they do have like a short guest or a 10-minute guest where I can walk away going, okay, that was kind of cool. I didn't know that. And that's one of the things, again, that I put into my luncheons, virtual or not, we have lightning learning lessons. So we have a 10-minute lightning learning lesson where it's either virtually, I bring a guest on, like you could come on and talk for 10 minutes, or I will train personally because I have a lot of subject matter in my brain. But I want them to leave the networking event, even if they didn't get a lead, a sale, a referral partner, a collaboration, with an aha moment. I want them to go, oh God, I'm glad Blaney talked about this today. I didn't know about that. I didn't know there was an alternative to Zoom that was free. And she talked about that today, right? Like, that's super cool. And so I'm giving value. And so to me, I want to get value at a networking event, right? I want to have a few moments of somebody's, if that's their format, of not a whole pitch, but just something really insightful. And I was on one the other day and they talked about ChatGPT, which is the hot buzzword right now. And they only did 10 minutes on it, but it actually got me excited about doing a couple of things. Actually, ChatGPT wrote my bio, by the way. I had an old one that was 3 years old. And I took my old bio and I dropped it into ChatGPT and said, rewrite this bio, please. And it came back with a new rendition of my bio that sounded better than the one that I wrote 2 years ago. But I learned that from going to a networking event with a 10-minute presenter on ChatGPT.
I think that's really one of the keys is when you go to a program and you can actually implement something, right? Like this. Now you can go back, right? People are talking about ChatGPT, but when you actually use it and say that you're using it for something and it saved you time, right? Saved you money, made it better without having the writing skills, right? Or the time that necessary to do that. I think that's that's why there's so much buzz around that piece. So by the way, you can read that here on all the video posts is Blaney's top two paragraphs, as well as her digital business card that she was talking about. Now, you're talking about MC or host, right? And I'm a strong believer that you need a virtual MC, especially for like things like virtual summits and conferences, right? And so I would love to know your personal top 3 traits of a virtual host or virtual MC that you appreciate.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. So one, like I have a host for my upcoming SBBE that's going to co-host it, and he's from the UK. So he has an awesome accent. So that is really important to me. Now, it's awesome because people will listen to him, especially from us from the States.
Sure.
There's actually a study done that says that like we like the accents of the Australians and the UKs. So I specifically offered him to come, but that's fine. The second thing is they do need to be engaging, right? So I speak with my hands a lot. You can see me moving it around. I could probably sit on them. I can't help it. That's one of the reasons I don't use virtual backgrounds, because I would be like ghosting in and out. This is a real background for those of you. Thank you for those that were commenting on my background. It's actually a piece of fabric that I had on a photographer's thing. So I don't want to use a virtual background because I do talk with my hands. But yeah, so what I'm asking for a host is they need to be energetic. I mean, whether it's especially on the big summits, and they need to be able to pull in the audience. So they need to be kind of improv. They need to be able to improv, right? They need to be able to think fast on their feet. They need to be able to, like you said, pull things into the conversation from what they're reading in the chat to make it a two-sided conversation. And so that's always what I'm looking for, is somebody that's fast on their feet, that can think fast and really engage with my audience to keep them on longer, right? And keep them engaged. And if they happen to have a great accent, that's just a bonus.
Well, I love the accent piece. You know, the improv is so important, right? One of my favorite MC stories is I was the MC for a virtual conference based in Atlanta, and they lost audio for 32 minutes, Blaney, right? And so as the virtual MC, first I stepped in and saying, oh, hey, it looks like we lost audio. So I immediately let the audience know. And then I get this message back from the tech team, because I got a direct line to them, and they go, it's going to be a while. Right? And I go, oh, so there's a great improv exercise. Blaney, have you ever played PowerPoint karaoke?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay. Because I think you would be great, and I'd be happy to host it during one of your networking sessions if you want to. What you do is you get people in the audience to present like 5 minutes of a slide deck, a slide deck they have never seen before.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And
that would be amazing.
Right. The goal is to make it sound like you actually knew that the slides were coming up. Anyway, so that's what I did, except this time I got paid for it. I presented this gentleman's slide deck for 32 minutes, and I did not know what that content was until I started.
That's amazing.
And
but you know what? That is, they're going to love you for that because you were able to step in. I'll have to tell you a real quick funny story. I was getting interviewed in Italy. A lady was interviewing me, and we're on Thank God we were on I think we were using my Zoom account back when I used Zoom, not hers.
Yes.
Thank God. She disappears. She's interviewing me and she's gone. And I'm like, I think we lost our host. I said, well, good thing is we're just going to go ahead and wrap this up right now. I'm Blaney Teal, blah, blah, blah. Thank you guys for coming in. She was recording it. So I wasn't live. So she was recording it. She says, you want to do it over? I said, nope. I said, I covered for you just fine. You're good. Watch it back. I think you'll be fine with it. She was like, oh my God, you were awesome. But what am I going to do? Tech happens, she disappeared. Thank God I was recording it though, or I think I would have been gone. But since it was on my side recording it, I was able to send her the recording. But yeah, you got to be able to think fast on your feet. I even had when I'm doing summits, I do have a slide that actually I will play a little, I have a backup like video to drop in, right? I'm prepared.
Right.
If something is to go wrong. And oh my gosh, I had one summit I was doing not long ago where my keynote speaker, we're in the green room. She's with me. We're doing great. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to hide your camera, have your mic. We're going to go into the session. I'm going to introduce you and bring you to the stage. Okay, all good. I go into the session. She's my keynote, my last one of the day. We got all these people excited to see her. And I go, okay, go ahead and turn on your mic and camera and come to the stage. She's nowhere to be found. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Well, she was just there. So again, I'm like, all right, guys, tell me. So we started talking with the people. I said, I'm sure she'll be back soon. And we were talking to the folks what are you loving about the summit so far? What's the best thing you've learned? And then of course she comes back on and apparently her battery of her laptop died. Like, so you know what I mean? So note to self, like make sure you're plugged in when you're doing summits, not on battery power.
Yes.
And this is a high keynote, like high level influencer. You would think that would just be known to do that, but it was fun. And I had to the audience loved it. They were like, oh, Blaney filled in great for you. It was no problem. But
that's the improv. The improv is to fill in with that, which is like something didn't happen and then to handle it, which is to go back and engage the audience is one. I can tell you, Blaney, as a producer, I have avoided probably at least a dozen of those. And the reason why is when they went to go share their screen, I could see that they were on battery and that sometimes that battery was quite low. You know what I'm talking about? When
Yes. Right? Sometimes you can see that. Yeah, I didn't see that in the way she did it because she had a green screen and she was standing up and all this high tech stuff. That's why I'm saying you would think she would know because it was highly, highly technified for what she was doing. She had her slides behind her on a little thing, like she had picture in picture. But you know what? And you know what? People said to me, you were so cool. Like I didn't freak out.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Right? What am I going to do? You just find ways to kill the time. And if she didn't come back on, I said, guess what? You guys are going to hear from me for another 30 minutes. I'll find something to talk about. And she did come back in. So.
Now, wait a minute, Blaney. Not everybody has that because I can tell you, like I've worked with some people and I interviewed them for MC and they get stuck. So I just want to ask Blaney, where do you think that level of improv comes from? So here, I'll help you out, right? Which is I've actually taken improv classes here in Seattle with the people that made a television show called Almost Live, which was Seattle's version of Saturday Night Live. Okay. And I tell facilitators and trainers, it's one of the greatest things you could ever do. It's also really hard, right? Because one of the things that I learned from it is that the harder you try, the worse it is. So there's this piece of improv that you kind of got to let go, all right, and embrace the flow of what's happening. And I think that's really one of the keys. But you can say that, but to learn how to do it is totally a different thing. Where do you think that your improv comes from, Blaney?
Well, what came to my mind when you said it was in college, I was actually going to be an international lawyer and I was part of a mock trial, a club. And I think being and I was very good at it, by the way. So being able to be in mock trial and being able to think on your feet, like when you're cross-examining, I think some of that comes, again, thinking on your feet. Yep. And I do have the gift of gab, as you can already tell. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to speak. My funny story. Okay, funny story. I'm in here doing a live session, looking at my camera. I have an actual camera. My daughter, I didn't know, was standing outside of my office, and I did like a 30-minute training to the camera with no notes, no slides. And when I'm all done, my daughter looks over and goes, "Mom, did you just do that from your head? No, no prompter." I said, "Yes." She's like, "Oh my God, you're amazing." Like to her, she was just blown away that I didn't have notes or prompter. It's just, if you know your topic anyway, you can speak on anything if you know your topic. But she was so impressed that I didn't need to have anything in front of me. And I think she learned that, it's okay to just talk from your heart. Yep. Sometimes I say words wrong. Sometimes I stumble. I spit out the wrong word. Like I mess up. I have a podcast and I don't edit it. If I speak twice on a word or I stumble, I'm real. I don't have my guy cut it out.
Yeah. No, I think there's two pieces there. Like this is live stream, and some guests kind of freak out, but others embrace it. And I love it because also too, it is usually not perfect. Like I missed a button last interview. And it gives a level of authenticity that I think that's what people appreciate, right? Which is these are our responses. They are true to us in the moment, right? We did not go back and we didn't edit it out, right? And we're not apologetic about it, right? Is the other piece. The second piece, though, I think is super important. People forget because speaking is one of those things that most people fear. But what I also have seen is that as a speaker, you are like 10 plus times more effective when you speak from your heart than when you speak from the cards. Right. And I think that's something that's so key. Like making the cards is still maybe an important part of the process for you. But then I tell sometimes people like throw the cards away when you get on stage because you have it all here. Right. And then really deliver it from your heart. Even if you stumble over it, I think it brings something that those cards can never bring to you. Right. So, yeah, I hope.
And you're right on that because I actually spoke a couple of years ago at a conference in person for 8,000 people. And they told me that I was going to have a teleprompter. So I had cards and I learned them.
Sure.
And I said, no, I really don't need to learn. There's going to be a teleprompter. I'll just read my speech. Well, when I got there, like, oh, the teleprompter's broken.
Yes, I do it.
I know. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, so I had the cards, but I don't do well looking at cards. And I did exactly what you said. I knew the material. They wanted to make sure I hit certain points in the speech and stuff like that. I threw them away. And I stood up there and I just presented the content and I even changed it up a little bit. And I think it was even better because I wasn't following the script. If something popped in my head around the subject, I shared it. And I think I was more relatable than if I was reading something.
Yeah. So take notes, speakers, right? Think about that, right? If you could deliver even just a portion of your program from the heart, because here's my other part too. I really believe this too, Blaney, right? The whole audience is cheering for any speaker, including you. And here's the reason why. Nobody wants a bad speaker, right? Nobody wants to sit in the audience and suffer. So the whole audience is really cheering for you to be great. So that's like your next step to be great is drop your notes and be real. So. Blaney, speaking about being real, let's talk about the real future. You have experimented too with lots of other platforms. You probably maybe have a good idea, right? What do you want to see in the future? Or what's a wish, right, that you could have? Like I can already tell, right? If you could just have the perfect chat, right, saver, like right now, that is like maybe the top of Blaney's list. That'd be my best guess.
Well, at least for Zoom it is, right? Because they got to fix that. They got to fix that. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, there's lots of features. So with virtual networking, there is always new tech, and I'm always investigating it. I'm known for vetting it, right? I'm going to test it out. I'm going to vet it. So, and again, the reason somebody said to me, Blaney, why can't you just have one platform for all your events? And I said, because one platform can't do everything, and it can't, and it probably never will. Right. And even in regards to like when I do my group speed networking where they're assigned to tables, I had to find an external algorithm rotator that will rotate people and assign them to tables. It's not built in yet, but guess what? I heard Remo just built one in because I actually connected the two developers. I took the developer from the mixer seater and met him with Remo and said, you guys need to figure out how you can merge this stuff because that would make my life easier. And I think they did. So like, I'm always trying to make the tech better and easier for the attendee, right? It can't be complicated for the attendee, but tech is still tech. It's going to break. There's going to be a hiccup and there's nothing you can do about it. But as far as like a wish list, I just have fun with I'm not into the real game, like the ones you were talking about, like Gather and Verbella. I'm not into the real ones that feel like gamification or like little computer games. That isn't my thing. But I know people that love that. And I tell my clients, if that's the event that you want to put on, then do it. Like, it's fine. But there's really no wish list. I mean, everyone has its perks, you know what I mean? And everyone has, again, something different. But yeah, for Zoom, I wish that they fixed the chat thing. But again, I don't use Zoom except the free account when I come on other people's Zooms. So it doesn't matter to me. I actually heard today that there's going to be a new feature in Zoom that's coming out that, again, people are paying a lot of money for Zoom. And I'm not trying to ditch, Zoom, but there's a lot of money into Zoom and it does a great job. But again, then you look like everybody else's event and you almost get confused on which event you're in because they all look the same. So again, that's my wish, is just to put on fun experiences that people show up and they are happy that they came to it. They're getting something out of it. And the tech isn't causing them drama because, there are some people, like, for instance, Blitzer does not work on mobile. And I love Blitzer because Blitzer has one-to-ones and you can use AI, or you can red light, yellow light, and green people, right? Green light. So I can say, you know what? I don't want to meet with John. We already did a one-on-one. I want to meet with Sally. I never met her. Yellow, I'll let the universe. And then the AI matches you. But it doesn't work it's too intense to work on a mobile, right? So people get frustrated because they register for my event. Then they show up on their mobile, even though I've sent them 3 emails and a text saying, don't use mobile. They still show up on mobile. They can hear the main part of it. But when they go to do the matches, they don't hear or see anything. And they wonder why.
You know what? I think I know Blaney's wish. I think Blaney's wish for the future is if there was just a way she could guarantee that everyone had actually really read the email before an event, right? Because how many conferences, you get 54 emails before a conference, right? And somebody comes up there and still goes, how do I log in? Right. And it was in email 1 through 53 at least,
right. Yes.
So,
people are lazy. We know that, John. They're lazy. They'd rather text me, I can't get in, than go read the email to get in. So, but we laugh with that. I mean, it's just part of the culture today. But you're right. I send out emails and texts before everyone saying, this is not a Zoom. Please read, pay attention, go in early, check it out. You can log in right now, 4 days ahead. It doesn't matter. See if you can get in. And then they still text me at 11:36, 6 minutes into the event. I'm locked out. I'm like, well, did you push the red button before 11:30? Oh, yeah, no. I'm like, well, I'll see you next time.
Oh my goodness! All right, Blaney, if you wanted people to remember one thing from this interview, and we did cover a lot, but one thing, what's the one thing you want them to remember?
Oh my gosh. Well, never give up on networking. I think that's the most important thing. The only way you lose in networking is if you stop doing it, because out of sight is out of mind. So I love virtual networking. If you haven't given it a chance, give it 6 months, give it a year. Find a couple of places that resonate with you and make some great connections. Because I now have friends all over the world. I have people that are going to be booking retreats in Mexico. I would have never met them 3 years ago. So now I have connected with the most amazing people that are going to bring retreats to me, that I'm going to go to their retreats. Just do it and stop thinking you can't get business from virtual, because you can. And it's not always about the business, guys. It's also about the relationships, the connections.
Like I said, I finally got to meet somebody who came to my karaoke group from a friend who they met on a cruise pre-pandemic from Seattle, and she lives in South Carolina, and now we've become very good friends and work friends. And then we finally got to meet in a real live karaoke bar in Florida in February. And so some of these things come around, right, in a circle, and it was really an amazing. One of the best relationships I made in definitely in the last 3 years. So
I got one in Canada. She was in my academy. We met in my first summit.
Yeah.
She came to my academy. She was my client. And guess what? Out of the blue, she's like, I'm coming to America, the States. Can we meet up? I'm like, yeah, and better that, you can stay at my house for the week. And so she stayed with me and we networked and we brainstormed on her business. I showed her around Baltimore. We had crab cakes and steamed crabs. And since then, she's been back 3 more times to hang out with me. And I would have never met her if she wasn't a stranger guest, right? Somebody I didn't know who was invited by somebody else to my small business virtual extravaganza back in 2020. And that's only one story. I have many folks. I have another guy I met virtually who went to Cancun with my son and I for his 21st birthday with 24 other people. But I never met her personally. I've only met her online. She was like, I'll come with you guys. And she flew from Vegas all the way down to Cancun to meet up with us because we met virtually. Again, we were in some kind of a training together. I would have never met these people. And it's amazing. My whole world is just different today than it was. I'm blessed. Meeting you, I would have never met you. There's just so many things that the lady in Italy that interviewed me, that would have never happened.
Well, it also requires someone like you, Blaney, to say yes to all the opportunities. So thank you for saying yes to this interview. Thank you so much. All right, let's see. So we've been talking with Blaney Teal. Thanks so much, Blaney. So it's been great to get a chance to know and find out a little bit more about Blaney's energy. We want to say thank you. If you're listening to this, if you want to click subscribe, connect, add friend, whatever it is, and if you want to be the next person to get interviewed here on this interview, just click engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, select interview, and pick the best hour of your day, and you could be the next person who gets interviewed here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. All right, thank you with that. And wait, Blaney's back, so now, Blaney, you can say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks, Blaney. All right, we'll see you next time on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Thanks again.
Always start people